All right, so good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. We would like to thank our speaker for coming in again today, and we truly appreciate your commitment. I also would like to thank all our directors for their commitment as well. For all those of us who are joining us, I can assure you, you have so much to learn today. So let's get right at it. Over to you, Mr. Owonikoko.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, which I am very, very grateful for. And thank you to everyone for coming today also to listen to this session. So today we are going to continue in the leadership development series. Well, it's a series now. We've done 2 sessions. Today is the 3rd, and I think we have one more. And so just before we start, I am going to say that if you have any question at any point, please feel free to drop those questions in the chat box. And I'm sure there are people in each center that can help facilitate that. So we'd appreciate it, just to be sure that we are all able to, I would have loved to engage and ask questions as we go on, but because of time and because of the logistics that would require, it's probably best we use the chat box to do that. So today we are going to the 4th module in this leadership development course, which is really about styles, personal styles and flexibility. But then I'm going to do a quick recap of what we have learned, just in case there's someone joining us for the first time, or even for every one of us to refresh our mind on what we have learned previously. So like I mentioned earlier, this is about leadership development, which we have said in the previous sessions that it is very, very important, because those who get promoted in any organizations are those who demonstrate leadership capacity, not those who know how to do what the company is doing, or those who know how to make what the company is making. And I've seen that across in my consulting experience with private sector organization, in my experience as a development practitioner working with several organizations, that those who get ahead are those who are able to organize people to achieve what the organization is doing, not just those who are able to achieve what the organization is doing. And I've seen really talented people who are technically sound, but it's often difficult for them to climb the leadership ladder in the organization because they do not demonstrate leadership capacity. I remember that one of my mentors once told me when I was working in a consulting firm in London that the best way to get promoted fast is to be able to do what I'm doing fast, to be able to do what used to take me 3 months or a week, to be able to do it well. And that would mean that I've mastered it and I've developed templates. And secondly, to be able to get others to do what I'm doing. That if I can get others to do what I'm doing, then it's obvious I need more challenge. And then that is when promotion happens. You know what they say, when you get promoted, more money comes, you have more opportunities. And that is basically what it is. And I remember in that particular organization which I joined,
Mr. Olushola. We can't hear you. Are you still there? Please, let's be patient with him. The internet connection this morning gets somehow. Please, all the directors, please help us to accept people in. My system here is also a bit sluggish, so please help us to accept people while we're waiting for Mr. Owonikoko. Does anybody have any kind of review of what you have picked up? Anybody? I can see 2 people from the American Center, Lagos. Can any of you share with us what you have gained so far? Ebuka.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Just go straight to point so that we can also have other persons make their contribution very quickly.
All right. So I think the last class we were talking about distinguishing between people, or the class before, distinguishing between people and issues. Usually before I used to be, very aggressive on issues, and sometimes it overlaps. So the people feel giving them direct attack. But something happened, and I realized I was actually engaging a professor who was my teacher, and he was wrong on points of facts. But I've just made my point clear, and I didn't want to go further to prove to him that he was wrong. And I think, that's a reflection of the lessons I picked up from the last class. So I think that's a very good one.
That's a very good one. As with any youth and anybody also, you don't just want to accept. You say, how will I allow such to go like that?
Yes.
So thank you very much. That's a good contribution. Any other person? Any other person who has something to share?
Hello, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mrs. Olabisi, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, one thing that was confirmed is the fact that however competent I may be, however experienced, if my character is not okay, then I will have problem with my leadership. That one was confirmed.
Great.
Thank
So
you.
character is key to anyone who really wants to lead.
Yeah.
If character is missing, then there's a problem. Thank you very much. Yes, Port Harcourt, I can see your hand up. Okay, Mr. Owonikoko is in already. Mr. Owonikoko, please let us know when you are ready to just take over. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The cost of the program,
you are very far from the. Okay, let's just hold on. Mr. Owonikoko is here. Please go ahead, Mr. Owonikoko.
All right, thank you. And I'm so sorry for the internet break in transmission. I had to switch between service providers. So like we're saying, given to just do a kind of summary of what we have learned. So we know we are talking about leadership development. And we have spoken about what exactly leadership is. Simply put, it is translating vision into reality. And if you want to add that it is working translates shared vision for us to leadership. We talked about competence and those rights and competencies of leaders, vision, the capacity to envision, to see things in different lights, the way they can be, not just the way they currently has to build team to bring resolving conflicts is important and help others learn and grow. Accurate assessment of situation, commitment to others, important. Leadership theory, one is the trait theory, which says leaders are born. Another is a great event theory, which says leaders are called by crisis or event, and then they just have to step up to that occasion. And then there's the transformational leadership, upon which this leadership development course, which is the fact that leaders are made choose to leadership. There's bad leadership, and it's usually just a function of character. Principles of leadership, from technical capacity to self-awareness, to communication, to responsibilities, understanding the job to be done, being an example, the capacity to train and develop others' capacity also, and just genuinely caring for other people. Those are important leadership principles that we must hold. So the second module we talked about, which was last Thursday, is that leadership is influence. And really, influence is our capacity to have an effect on other people such that they want to do what we think should be done, or what we collectively agree should be done. And basically helping others serve aside their personal agenda or self-interest for the common good of everyone. And of course, transformational leadership is really about visioning, planning, communicating, and developing the skills for that is what makes you a leader. Skill to envision, to plan, especially strategically, to communicate, to create action, to lead actions, all of those things. And we're saying that leadership is about people, first of all, and then it's about the mission or the vision which is to be accomplished, right? It's really not about the task at hand. And if your leadership style is about what is to be done, then very soon you have to stop having people following you. So, and then we talked about personal styles, where we talked about the 4 dyads of leadership, about some of you know introvert, extroverts. There's also the second one, which is intuition or sensing. There's a third one, which is feeling or thinking. You would, according to this theory, you most likely be one of these pairs, right? And we said that sometimes there's really no there's really no perfect one of these pairs. It's really sometimes who we already are, and then our capacity to transform to become what we need to be, especially as situations demand. So today we want to start from styles flexibility, right? So just last module, we talked about personal styles and the fact that many of us are the way we are, but it's not best that we remain that way. If we want to be effective leaders, we have to develop the capacity to interact with various kinds of people, right? And just being an introvert will not be the best for every situation, and just being an extrovert will not be the best. Likewise, other types of styles. So it's important that we are able to change when we need to and adapt to situations as necessary. So let's talk about styles. Today, we want to provide an understanding of how to be flexible with your style so that you can be empowered yourself, and then you can help others. And part of it to determine the style of someone else. And I've told you that the concept part is know that is how to manage. One side is what others personality of or the personality of what we're talking about today. Select the appropriate style that they should assume in responding to another person. You can see what I was saying just a few moments ago. Select the appropriate style, which means that you will not always have to depend on the styles that are natural to you, right? Then act according to the new style, observe and evaluate response. So 5 steps to adapting styles. And here, really, we're talking about the fact that in our efforts to and create environment opportunity for to accommodate other people. So if you remember the first, that as we mentioned earlier, the first one is introvert and extrovert. The second one is feeling, intuition and sensing. The third one is feeling and thinking. Okay to be a naturally and introverts. It's very where the limitation will be is that whatever the weaknesses or limitation of an introvert, that will be your weakness. And imagine that you now have to lead introverts and extroverts. To those who are into weaknesses, and you would not be able to maximize the strength that other styles have. On the other hand, it becomes really difficult to manage or as an extrovert because you beat of a thinker, they are feelers, they are running ahead, they are intuitive. You don't have, right? Because you are an introvert. However, before you can work well with those who are extroverted on the other side of your own style, you need to be able to work with them. And that is what this section is about. By the way, I remember that last week I had mentioned that some of you, those who are able to, should engage your team members in understanding their styles. Is there anyone who did that? If there are people who did that, I would like to take 1 or 2 people to share their experience. So just leave a comment in the chat box if you did, and then we'll call on 2 or 3 people to share what they found out today about their own styles, and then about the people they work with, and what are the key lessons they picked from that. I'd watch out for the chat box so that we can take examples when we have, but I'll just continue in the interest of time while we wait for people to send in their comments. So as we try to include others from diverse backgrounds who have different styles, our role as leaders behave and communicate, go beyond our own styles to reach everybody. You can't be a leader of a fraction of your organization, or you can't be a leader of a fraction of your community when in fact you're supposed to lead everyone. You can't be a leader of a fraction of a country. That challenge, that's where the responsibility of leadership comes in, right? So there are 5 steps to switch your style to make your organization. Before we go into this, I want to say emphatically that the foundation here is that you first of all know your style, because you cannot switch in and out of styles when you don't even know your dominant style, or where you are starting from, or when you don't know yourself and you're attempting to know and interact with others. It will always end in disaster. So the foundational thing here is taking time to know and understand yourself. And I know that if I ask you that, do you know yourself, you probably just rush to say yes. But that is not just the kind of response you should give. The kind of is a factual response where you can sit down and document yourself and write about yourself, right? And I would quickly take us back to those styles we talked about. Because if you don't know or understand yourself, then this effort will be a waste. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, are you an introvert or an extrovert primarily, right? What is your temperament like? Are you more extroverted or more introverted? Or are you already a combination of both? Because I know people who are naturally a combination of both. They can switch already, right? Attribute of introverts, they are quiet, they tend to process things quietly, they prefer to stay indoor than social gathering, and there are some introverts who don't mind social gathering, but in order for them and quiet, those are introverts. And on the other hand, are outgoing people oriented, right? For those who are intuitive, they tend to understand theories, possibilities, abstracts, right? They become bored with too much details, and they can make decisions faster because they make decisions based on their intuition, what they feel or think is the right. And sometimes they don't even feel or think, they're just spontaneous. I think that's the right word, spontaneous. Meanwhile, those who are sensing are those who want to see all the facts, you know, and see all the structures and the tangibility of the situation before they can make their own decision. And they feel very comfortable when people just are too spontaneous, or they are very comfortable with, they are very uncomfortable with people who are too spontaneous or things that are too theoretical and abstract, right? So people who are artists are generally not bankers, investment bankers, and people who are factual, right, would have this type of sensing style. So I'm just saying this, I'm just quickly going through this so that you can at least answer the question of, do you know yourself? Are you a feeling or a thinking person? Do you make decisions based on emotion? You know, and there's really nothing wrong about that. It's just who you are. And then there are situations that actually that requires that. But there are people who are thinkers. They make judgments about life, about people. They like logic, they like analysis, and just jump from process, you know, one end to the other, right? There are some people who are perceiving and judging, right? Those who are perceiving are open, flexible, adaptive, non-judgmental. Those who are judging, yes, they are decisive, they are firm. They see you, they don't like you, that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. They see you, they like you, that's it, they like you. And they like to set goals, stick to them, are committed to processes and all. So these are styles, right? That you can use to evaluate who you are. When people say, who are you? Then these are things you can use to describe yourself. So it's important, like I said, that you have to know yourself, first of all. That is extremely important. So let's go to steps that can help you to be more flexible in your style, especially when interacting with people. The first one is determine the style for each employee on a given project. So the question really is, do you know the people that you lead? You have to know your people. And if you lead a really large team where you cannot know everybody, then there would always be a pyramid or a structure of leadership, right? Because you cannot directly lead 2 million people. If, for example, you are the governor of a state, even though technically you're leading all of them, but in reality, you can't be in touch with all. So there has to be a structure. There's a reason why in Lagos State, for example, the state is divided into local governments. And then the head of the local governments reports to someone, right? There's a reason why there are ministries, and a commissioner heads each ministry and report directly to the governor. There's a reason why in each local government, there are wards, there are words that, they have counselors and leaders, and those counselors report to the local government chairman. That's structure. So if the governor, for example, needs to know people, then he has to know those who report directly to him, and those who report directly to him in turn have to be trained to know those who report directly to them. And that is how leadership structures are formed. In your organization, if you lead an organization of, say, 30 people, it might be difficult for you to lead or be in touch with all 30 people. It might be more strategic to have a structure such that there are 5 people that report directly to you. Those people are those you're primarily responsible to, and then you assign tasks to, and then those people lead other people, and maybe they have their own structure. That way, things are broken down. It's easier for you to interact with people directly. And once in a while, you can go beyond those that report directly to you and try to touch base with people. But generally, those you would know are those that report to you, because those are the people you are going to be actively leading, and trusting them that they are also actively leading other people. And then in return, you have a working leadership structure. Leadership is a responsibility. Don't forget, we talked about that earlier. But even much more is leaders demand responsibility from those that lead. They lead. They teach those that they lead to be responsible. And part of that responsibility is determining the style for those that work with them, especially on a project or in general. Because that is only when you know what to do. Even if I know I'm an introvert, it's a very good starting point. But it's even more important that I know that you are an extrovert. Then we know what we are dealing with. We know what we have to do, right? And that is very important. So don't forget the first point in being adaptive is that you must determine the style for each person that you lead, especially those you lead directly and actively. You must determine their style. You must determine their personality. Are they more extroverted or introverted? Are they more choleric or phlegmatic? Are they more task-oriented or more people-oriented? Are they more relaxed or more proactive? Are they more sensing, or are they feelers or thinkers? You must know those things so that you know what kind of task to assign to them. Where they need support, where you need to meet them halfway, who to give tasks and just go to other things, because you are sure that they will send things to completion. And there are some people that that after you give them the job, you have to supervise, because they are not as interested in the end result as the people that work with them. And why that is a good thing, you also need the results to be achieved. So you really have to supervise those kind of people. You don't give them those kind of tasks altogether. So those are really, really important things for you to take note of. Secondly, is that you select the appropriate style with which to respond to them. When you are the leader, it's very important that you have a large heart. And that includes being open to be on the receiving end of the weaknesses and the strengths of the people that you work with. You cannot be a leader and say, this is how I am, and this is what I'll be. It will be disastrous. Be the situation on ground and what it demands. So which means that you also have to quickly develop the flexibility needed to react or to respond to an extrovert, even though you're an introvert. You have to be able to see beyond your own feeling, even though you're a feeler. And when you're working with a thinker, to understand that this is a thinker, the fact that you feel things and you just want to work spontaneously does not work with them, which requires that you are patient and you are matured and understanding through the process. So those are really, really important things to take note of. Number 3 is act according to the new style. So you've observed that this is an extrovert. The best way to get the best out of this person is to also meet them at least halfway of being an extrovert, not just going as an introvert and just be quiet and just, not react. You have to be able to crawl out of that shell, which means that a lot of, confidence has to be, you have to build a lot of confidence, because as an introvert, for example, when you meet with extrovert, they can be intimidated, but your own confidence and sense of security has to be there. and developed, and know that as a leader, you're already the leader, and you shouldn't be threatened by people who are more proactive or have more presence and all of those. And the best way these things can be done is by continuous personal leadership, continuous personal development. That is very, very important. You have to keep reading, you have to keep, you also have to be mentored, find somebody to guide you so that they can point out some of these weaknesses. Otherwise, you might be able to identify other people's styles, but you might not be able to stand up to it, right? Especially if you are in the opposite situation where the other ones seem to be more overwhelming. For example, if you're a filler and you come across people who are very analytic and they overwhelm you with facts, then it can be difficult. Or if you are a sensing person and you meet people who are intuitive and they come with highly conceptual thoughts and concepts, and it's difficult for you to follow through, then how do you break those things down? So those are things that the time we have in this class will not be enough to deal with. But I can tell you that the best way to deal with those things is to continue to develop yourself and learn and know a lot of things. I've had to, in my career, read a lot and try to know a lot of things, because I know that the extent to which I know will determine the extent to which I'm able to interact with people. Because you meet all different types of, sometimes you can't even choose those that you lead. They are chosen for you and you have to engage with them, right? So it's very, very important that you know yourself, know other people, and be very, very emotionally matured, intellectually matured to be able to switch and interact with people. And how do you do that? Is really by studying, by reading, traveling when you can, speaking to mentors, having mentors. It's not just enough for you to mentor everybody. It's even more important that you also report and you're accountable to somebody, having a mentor. Sometimes go out of your own box. Maybe you're an expert in certain field. Don't stay there. Go to other field and volunteer and learn so that you at least get some basics. And the day you have to work with somebody on your team whose expertise is that particular other thing, then you are not completely blank. You have an idea. One thing I tell the people in my office is there's almost nothing anybody is doing that I cannot attempt to do. There was a time I was big on tech, trying to do, because we have tech guys we have to work with and manage. And they can't be speaking all of this tech language and I'm lost, right? So yeah, I have to invest in that capacity and develop it, right? Finance and accounts is not necessarily what I love doing, but since I lead an organization and I'm ultimately responsible for the books, then I have to be able to understand finance and what the books are saying. Am I an expert in finance and accounting? No. But will I meet, no matter the level of financial expertise, I would be able to contribute to the process. I will be able to at least bring a few, thoughts there and learn. And that is how leaders are. You have to develop horizontally by learning about a lot of things, while also developing vertically by learning everything about something and something about everything. That is how leadership, that is how confidence in leadership is built. Again, learn something about everything and learn everything about something. Vertical growth versus horizontal growth, and those would position you very, very well for strong leadership. The fourth point here is observation and evaluation of response. As you interact with people, and you try to switch or adapt to their styles, it's important that you're also constantly evaluating and observing the process so that you know what is working, what is not working. Because I can confirm to you that if you meet 2 extroverts or 3 extroverts, they might like different things. They might have different approach to things.
Could I suggest that you turn your video off?
My video. Okay, I hope you are talking to me. I just turned it off. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So the fifth point there is, and part of observing and evaluating is always getting feedback. always getting feedback from people. It's very, very important that you always get feedback from people. That way, you are able to understand what is working, get their own feeling and sense of what they want done, of how they want to be approached and spoken to, their styles. Because like I mentioned, the fact that you have the same style, I mean, the fact that people have the same style does not mean they will express those styles in the same way. That is very important. The last one is reassess and repeat. So you have to keep assessing the situation, how things are working, and repeat the process. Continue to repeat the process so that you can continue to improve, get things better, and make sure you are understanding how best to interact with different types of people. General style tendencies. The personal style inventory within this training can help you better understand employees and partners and identify the tasks, teams, and projects for which each will be best suited. The following rules of thumb can help guide you for evaluation. Don't forget that part of why you are doing this is so that you can assign people to where they can give you the maximum productivity, but also so that you can help people learn, grow. All of those are important. So rule of thumb in maximizing team efficiency. People with similar strengths may seem to click or arrive at a decision quicker. However, they have common weaknesses. So if you put 2, 3 introverts in the same team working on something because you don't want trouble, that would work fine. But what might eventually happen is they will ignore the same thing. They will ignore certain things that they would both not see. And that's why every team project has to be dynamic. Bring people from different ends, but the person who will be the lead of the team or who will drive the team has to be somebody whose primary skill or style supports the task that is to be done. The other people you bring to complement them will ensure that they do not miss things, will ensure that the weaknesses that the leader has, the leader of that team, can be covered by their own strength. And that is important. People who have different strengths will not see eye to eye on many things and have difficulties. Yes, that's very true. Because sometimes when people are experts in the same field, then it's difficult because it becomes a power play, right? And sometimes it becomes a conflict. So again, it doesn't mean that you can't bring people who have the same similar strength together. It just means that you also have to understand how to manage them, what your expectation should be, and where necessary, balance it with diverse strengths. I think the point there is a diversity of strength. That way it becomes easier for them to cover up each other's weaknesses. There are more components in which the two differ. The greater the potential for conflict and misunderstanding of each other. However, decisions resulting from this interaction will benefit from the differing points of view and strength of each other, which is what I was just saying, that when two people with different strengths come to one team, then it's easier because they are able to complement one another. So, and that is particularly why you should understand the strength of the people on your team. People may be sensitive about criticism in their areas of weakness and will likely prefer not to use this component. As a result, conflict may occur when they must do so, or when others point out the deficiencies in these areas. In a nutshell, we are saying that when generally people react badly, or they react to when others call out their weaknesses. But again, the strengths, a show of strength is when we are able to undo criticism of our weakness properly, listen, and then, of course, take feedback on how that can be better and try to work on it. But generally, conflict arises from when people give feedback on other people's weaknesses, either because people who have weaknesses don't acknowledge those weaknesses, or because those who are giving criticism are not giving those criticism in a constructive way. And of course, part of your job as a leader is to minimize conflicts, and when they arise, manage them effectively. So this is part of why it is important to understand people's styles and understand where conflict is likely going to arise. What are the ways those will be handled? And part of a growing area in corporate leadership these days is what they call ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance. And the summary of corporate governance is risk mitigation, risk management. Risk management is basically being able to anticipate risk and in advance put mitigating actions in place. Likewise, in this case of leadership development or leadership of a team, part of your own risk management strategy will be to identify those points where conflict can potentially rise. There are people who most likely will be able to start conflicts or who are prone to starting conflicts. And when you see them in a team, you are most likely going to identify them because of the way they react, because of their approach to things. And in advance, you must begin to think, if these things happen, how would they be handled? And that is part of conflict management, right? And that is why we have to know the styles of other people. So importantly, still talking about general style tendencies, people will normally gravitate towards others who have similar strengths and weaknesses. That is natural, although people of different styles are often drawn to one another because the strengths of one are admired and needed by the other. So I think both scenarios happen. Generally, there are some people that naturally will gravitate to those who are like them. On the other hand, however, there are people who also gravitate to people who are not like them. People who are quiet generally want to roll with those who are talkative because it fascinates them. Well, personally, it used to fascinate me when I see people who can talk a lot. But I think I also talk a lot now. So, I think you get the point. The point there is you would find people who are attracted to those who are like them, and that's because it's convenient, it's easy to just get along with those people. But there are also people who naturally just gravitate towards those who are unlike them because they are fascinated. In this, we must pay attention like this when we form teams, when we industry. In most cases, it should be people who are on opposite side of the same opposite side, so that they can help one another learn, balance of one another's weaknesses, beliefs, decisions, actions will be profoundly influenced by all four of the stronger components in these preferences. So basically, we are saying that when you try to interact with other people, when you start interacting with other people, especially those who are on different sides of where you are, it will influence your beliefs, your values, you know, and how. If you grow up in a family where everybody is orderly, for example, where things are kept and then you probably just go out, step out of that family cycle and meet friends who are a bit disorderly, it will shape you in a lot of ways. Initially, there might be conflict because you are trying to form them into who you are, or influence them to become like you, because in everyone's mind, we are the ideal. You are how everybody should be. However, the moment you're able to overcome that and see that this person might be disorderly, but they also have some level of intuition and spontaneity that is valuable for key decisions, then you would appreciate that, and it will begin to influence your own value system, that your own orderly style and way of doing things is not necessarily the ideal way to do things. It is just another way, or one of the ways things can be done. And as a matter of fact, there are limitations to what you think was ideal. And we all need people who are spontaneous as much as we need people who are orderly and process-driven. And that is a very, very valuable point for us to learn. Why a person's preference cannot be changed to the opposite. Each person can learn to strengthen the weaker components to some extent and to develop personal life strategies to overcome problems that result from the weaknesses. Very importantly, people might not change permanently.
That's information.
People might not change permanently. Someone who is an extrovert will probably always be an extrovert. Somebody who is a thinker will probably always be a thinker. Somebody who is certain way. But the point in all of this is for us to deal with our weaknesses, lower the risk of our weaknesses or the possibility of expressing those weaknesses, and strengthen the areas that we are already strong in, while acknowledging the diversity of our styles and its impact on getting things done. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's a diverse world. And if we are stuck in our own shell, we will miss out of that important diversity, which really, really beautify things and make sure things happen. In a team, for example, you would need that diversity. People who can think as much as people who are just intuitive or feelers, people who are introverted as much as people who are extroverted. It's just situations that determine which one is needed. And that is why it is important that we're able to balance all of these things at every point in time. So moving on. So that's the end of the fourth module, which talks about styles, personal styles, your own personal style and other people's personal styles, and how we can switch and make the best out of those styles. If you have any question at any point, don't forget, leave them on the chat box and then we might be able to take it. I'm still waiting for somebody who put into practice what we mentioned last week about understanding the personality style of those that they work with, and perhaps we can share your experience and learn a thing or two from you. But while we wait, we'll go to the next module, which is about leadership styles. So, like we have personal style, we also have leadership style, the way people choose to lead. And this leadership style, I can guarantee you, is usually influenced by personal style, who people are, because you cannot do what you are not. And that's why they say it is leadership, human beings, not human doings, because we are people of actions, but ultimately our action is determined by who we are, right? And that's why it's important that we talked about personal styles before leadership style. So the purpose of this section is to provide an understanding of the 5 typical leadership styles while helping to identify your personal leadership styles. I can confirm to you that there are more than the 5 that we are talking about, but these are like the 5 common and most talked about one. So we'll focus on those. Learning objective. By the end of this unit, learners will be able to determine their leadership style, select the appropriate style, select the appropriate style that they should assume is responding to others, act according to the new style, and observe and evaluate the process. So let's get to it. There are 5 basic leadership styles. Just as we have preferred ways of acting in our general behavior, like we just saw in this personal style, people also have preferred leadership styles. In these units, we definitely are identifying these styles, which you can already see on the screen for those who can see the screen. And then we'll talk about how to, be situational. But as a foundation, it's important to know that there's no right or wrong leadership style. Just the way that there's no right or wrong personal style. It's just who people are and sometimes what the situation demands. There are 5 basic ones, right? And like I said, there are no wrong or right ones. They are only what is right for certain situations and what is not right for certain situations. I will come back to see those things in a jiffy. The first one is authoritative. And you can already see one word that explains it, telling. Those who are telling you what to do, it doesn't matter what you think. They're just telling you what to do, and that's what they expect you to do. A quick example of that would be a military leader. For those of you who might have experienced what leadership was like during the military era in Nigeria, then you will know that one of the rules in the barrack is obey before complain. Once you're told to do something, you do it first Then if you have anything to say, you say it later, right? And that's how authoritarians work. They just come and tell you what to do. People who have these skills generally have a lot of process to make their own decision, and they trust that process and then just want the followers to do what they have said. The second one is political. And of course, if you look around Nigeria today, there are a lot of them. And a lot of it will be demonstrated in the next couple of months. People who are selling themselves, selling an idea, whatever it is, but they are selling. Politicians are basically selling, and that's why politicians may not be liked, but people will vote for them because they've sold something that people are willing to buy, and they bought it, and it's working for them. So there are people who are political, even not necessarily because they're in politics, but they are just political. They tell you what you need to know to make the decision they want you to make, and that's it. There are people who are evaluative. They are testing. They have 1, 2, 3 ideas. They push it to you. They get feedback. They push it to you. They get feedback, and that's it, right? They are testing. And then we also have people who are participative, which is those who are consulting. They are consultative. Many of the decision or the projects in the development world are expected to be consultative because they want participation. They want you to participate. They want you to bring your own idea. We have $10,000 to spend for this project. How do you think we should spend it? An authoritarian will tell you that this is how we will spend this 10,000 naira. A politician will already know what he wants to do, and then will come and sell it to you that, guys, this is 10,000, but have you seen the bridge somewhere? Don't you think we should build it? Yes, let's build it. I think if we build it, they would sell the idea and make sure you buy it. And once you buy it in, it's primarily the ideas, one of the ideas they already have. Evaluative will be those that are saying, what if we build this bridge? What will happen? They get feedback, you know. They test the ideas with people. They ask people. It's not consulting, but it's really just getting feedback before they make the decision. Participative is making the decision together. Guys, this is 10,000 naira. How should we spend it? And then group A will come, let's do this. Group B will say, let's do this. Group C will say, let's do this. If they are different opinion, maybe they vote, and then everybody participates. The leader is equally participative, but leading the consultative effort, facilitating the decision making, not necessarily making the decision. And then there's the laissez-faire, which is in fact the leader joining the decision that the people have made. So it's a situation where this is 10,000 and the people say, let us build a drainer, and the leaders say, fine, that is what we'll do. That is laissez-faire, right? It's a type of leadership where the power is really with the people, and then the leader is just doing what the follower wants them to do, right? Without arguing, without putting their own opinion, without trying to sell anything, or without telling. So those are the basic leadership, 5 leadership styles that is commonly demonstrated. So let's look a little bit deeper into these styles. So there are two of them that are generally tagged leader-centered, which means that the leader is really the one in the picture, is the one determining what is to be done, is the one in the middle of the entire conversation. The others are followers or group-centered, which means that the say of the followers have an important role to play in what is done eventually. So let's look at each one. Authoritative, the leader identifies the problem, consider alternative solution, chooses one of them, and tell others what to do. The leaders may or may not consider what the group members will think or feel about the decision. And even if they consider it, they don't care, they still do what they have or what they have chosen to do. And that is about authoritative leadership style. For those who are political, it's really also still about the leader. The leader, as before, makes the decision without consulting the group. However, instead of simply announcing the decision, he or she tries to persuade the group of members to accept it. You can see the difference. In both cases, the similarity is that the leaders have made the decision. But in one of them, the leader care about the people's feeling. In the other, it doesn't care about the people's feeling. In the authoritative, it doesn't necessarily care about the people's feeling. But in political leadership style, it cares about the people's feeling. So that is why it's going to try and come and persuade them so that they can agree to do what he wants them to do. That is the style. And in all fairness, there are situations where these two are required. Maybe not all the time, maybe in fewer situations, but there are situations where they are expressly required if there will be progress in the team. And then let's go to the other end of the table, which is the laissez-faire. And that's group-centered. The leader participates, in fact, it's not just group-centered, it's group-focused, because the leader is not active in that decision-making. The leader is very passive. The leader participates in the discussion as just another member, agrees in advance to carry out whatever decision the group makes. These people do not have prior opinions or they might have opinion actually, but they do not have prior decisions make. They come to the table, they bring everybody along, and whatever the people decide to do, that is what they ensure is done. That is a group-centered leadership style. The next one to it is participative. The leader gives the group member a chance to influence the decision from the beginning. The members are asked for their ideas. In effect, the group is invited to increase the number of alternative actions to be considered. The leader then selects the best fit solution. Can you see the major attribute here? So the leader is saying, give us all the options. Let's lay all our cards to the table. And then the leader chooses based on what has been provided by the followers or by the people he leads. The leader chooses the options, that is to be implemented. And that is an important difference between the next one we're going to talk about, evaluative, and the participative method. The evaluative method, on the other hand, you can see it is white if you can see the screen, which means that's a recommended one. The leader identifies a problem and proposes a tentative solution before finalizing it. However, he or she gets the reaction of those who would implement it. The leader says, in effect, I would like your frank reactions to this proposal, and I will then make the final decision. So this is another style, right, where the leader has come up with points, allowed people to react to it, and then he makes the final choice, right? All of these, again, there's no bad one, there's no wrong one. They are just styles that are relevant or situational to each or to the circumstances, to the circumstance at hand. When to adjust your style. And this is talking about situational leadership style, which is a sixth one I am adding to this, right? That would help you maximize all of this. And it's called situational leadership style. When we are on automatic pilot and not tuned in to those we are leading, we are most likely to choose the leadership style that is our personal preference. But ideally, leadership style that you use should be based on 3 factors. Can you see what is written there, first of all? The first point is, of course, we already established that there's personal style and there's leadership style. And naturally, people just choose leadership styles that aligns with their personal style, right? What then happens is it becomes problematic because depending on the style or personality of the people that they need, there will be different reactions to that. In order to take care of those, then these 3 things are recommended. Number 1, you must ask yourself, what is the nature of the situation? What are we dealing with here? What does this situation need? What is this situation? Is it a chaotic situation? The kind of leadership style you adopt in the chaotic situation is different. The kind of leadership style when you are dealing with those who are highly intellectual is different. The kind of leadership style you deal with when you are talking to those, when you are leading those who are unskilled or semi-skilled in an intellectual path is different, right? This type of styles you engage when you have a bunch of extroverts perhaps is different. For example, if you have people who are very critical, then you find it difficult to engage skills that are authoritative or political because they will criticize you a lot. They will ask you, what have you done? How did you get to this decision? And if you do not provide the right answer, then it might just be a bit chaotic. So that is very important. Excuse me, please. The second style, the second point here is the need and wants of those you are leading. Who are you leading? It is important you know your people, and that was why we already talked about styles. Who are you leading? Why? So the other thing I want to quickly add is this: why individuals in a team would have their style. There's also usually a group style, which is the style that is dominant in a group of people. There are communities where they are critical. There are communities where they are a bit quiet. There are communities where they are generally thinkers. There are communities where they are generally intuitive. All of those things you have to know. And it's the need and wants of those who are leading. Remember, pay attention to the fact that there are needs and there are wants. You don't want to be making a needs-based decision considering just the wants of people. Because sometimes people don't even know what they want until you engage them and ask them critical questions. And that's why it's important that we know this difference and, be willing to explore different styles. The other third point is the personal preference of the leader. Again, it's difficult to express a leadership style that is not aligned with your personal style. It will be an internal conflict. So while you do all of these, you also want to evaluate what is your strength and how do you want to play that strength such that the conversation is balanced between the situation, the people, and yourself, so that you don't burn yourself out, you don't wear yourself out unnecessarily. So that is very, very important. Again, don't forget that at the end of the day, our conclusion is that situational leadership style is the best. And that is a situation, that is the point where you are able to react to different situations as the need demands. If you're leading children, it's going to be different from when you're leading adults. If you're leading in a chaotic situation, it's going to be different from where things are fine. If you're leading in a point where there's availability of lots of data, it's going to be different from when there is no data. And you still have to make decisions. If you're leading those who are really, really smart, or maybe those that are smart in your team, they're a lot more than those who are semi-skilled or unskilled, then you have to understand the style that is relevant. In a nutshell, what we have said today is that you cannot be who you want to be and remain there. You have to understand the styles available. You have to understand your own style. You have to understand the style of the people you're leading. And a good way to do that is by taking personality tests. There are several of them. I mentioned last week the 16 personality styles. 16 personality tests. It's free online. Go ahead, take it. Read books too about these things. How to win and influence people. There's also the actual book by Tim LaHaye is Spirit Control Temperament, which talks about the 4 temperament types. And, of course, his own recommendation also is that people should outgrow one personality type that they have and grow to be more. So it's important that we consider all of these things. and know how to know how to work well with other people by mastering emotional intelligence principles, which is built on 4 things. First one is know thyself, manage thyself, know others, and manage others. Because at the end of the day, we are all responsible for what we do to other people and what's our life, the kind of result we produce in our life. So if you're going to be an effective leader, it's important that you pay attention to these critical things. And we also spoke about leadership styles, which varies, 5 of them, and you need all of them. You need all of them. Sometimes when you just need to lay people off in your office, you need to put on authoritative style. And that's because, again, that's one of those things I found really difficult to do, but they have to be done. Otherwise, things go bad. So the day I'm going to do it all right, I come to the office with that hat on as an authoritative and then just drop it and move on. Otherwise, you can, spend a lot of time around such decisions and not make any decision eventually, because we are thinking of an authoritative kind of decision, but we are using a laissez-faire approach, which is really asking people, this so person, do you think you should send him away? Because they want to reassure their own operation that they know what they're doing. So all of these things are important, and let's be sure that we are well positioned to maximize the situations we have. Thank you so much for having me. I'll be happy to take questions.
Can we put our hands together? Very, very interesting. Please, can you minimize the screen so that we can see you? All right, you can see a lot of people clapping for you. Great, 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 great. Thank you very much, everybody. I believe that we had a special time today. So I am going to ask you to please go right ahead and ask your question. Yes, any question from anybody? Let me check the chat box. So Ben, I can see you here. Yes, yes, I can see. All right, people are making comments here. All right, okay. Are there questions from anybody? Please raise your hand, particularly those of us who are participating from American spaces. Please raise your hand. Okay, I can see Onogbeson. Please unmute yourself.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Owonikoko, and thank you to the organizers who, again, for this opportunity. So my question basically is that, to Mr. Owonikoko, is that which of these 5 basic leadership styles would you rather say that, say maybe as an NGO leader, is best for you to adopt and refine your skills towards? Would it also be different from the leadership style expected of somebody who runs maybe, say, a corporate entrepreneurship, business, or say, is it also different from somebody who runs a social impact? Are there different leadership styles that might emerge for, various business or social impact, as the case may be? That's my question.
Okay, over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think I stopped hearing you just at the end, but I think I got the sectors corporate will be different. Well, every sector, because leadership is not sector driven. As long as it is people you are leading, it will always require that you are situational, right? And just adding what somebody said in the comments that do I think that laissez-faire leadership style put the leader at a disadvantage? Again, don't forget that the point is the fact that you would need these different type of leadership styles depending on the situations. When people are agitated, for example, and it's obvious that there's a fault leadership style, then that is the point to sort of allow their voice to come and do what they want. That is how to get their buying. But when there's chaos and nobody's listening, that is when authoritative leadership is necessary. And that's why military people will do well there, because they just come, decree order, mandate people to follow, and that happens, right? But when you are doing some kind of community project, you are in the community, you are trying to create a project for them, at that point you need some sort of participatory leadership or evaluative leadership, because the project you are doing in the first place is not about you. It's more about the community. So why bring an idea on them? It's a point for them to give their feedback, participate in the process, right? However, when the project implementation begins, you probably need another type of leadership where you can ensure that resources are better mobilized. Because if you continue to use participatory leadership, especially with resource mobilization, everybody will take what they want, and then the resources will never be enough. So at that point, you probably need to be more
Mr. Wanikoko, please unmute yourself.
Wow, I've said a lot.
No, just a minute, just 1 minute. So just go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was saying all along is that situational leadership is the answer, no matter what sector you are, either private sector, public sector, third sector. You just have to be situational. What does the situation demand? And I give an example quickly that if you are going to the field as a development practitioner to create a project, you have to be participatory so that others can contribute. But if there's chaos, then authoritative leadership style is necessary. But if people are agitated, it's not chaotic, but they're unhappy, then that's probably the point to bring in laissez-faire style so that they can bring in their opinion and they are empowered, or they feel empowered that what they want is being done, as long as it is within the shared vision. So no matter where you lead, it would always have to be situational if you want to maximize leadership opportunity.
Thank you very, very much. You know, just about less than an hour ago, we had a situation where somebody needed something within a group, which was not what we accepted. But at the end of the day, we threw the thing open. All we did was just to say, well, if you really, really, really wanted this, please support. Let's see whether you support the thing. And majority just said, yes, let's do it. And that was what took the day. So situational leadership is the way to go. I just wanted to add that to what our resource person said. American Corner Ibadan, please unmute yourself. Then YMTUF also mute yourself. So we'll take those two quickly together. American Corner Ibadan. Are you there? Okay, YMTUF.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Wanikoko, for this insightful session. My question is, you mentioned that we should know ourselves, our style, and our people's style, and we should give them assignments based on their style. Now, my question is, does that mean you are restricting them to being who they are, not improving on themselves? That's my question.
Yes, so jumping on that quickly. So there are two situations. There are times where you actually just need things done fast. At that moment, I would give those who already have strengths in that particular area. But there are times you have time, you have resources, then it's an opportunity to allow people grow, right? So again, part of your primary responsibility as a leader is to help others grow. And one of the ways of doing that is putting them where they are not comfortable in. But you don't want to put somebody in a situation where you have just 6 hours to deadline, and then you want to put somebody who will come and learn. The goal is, whatever the situation is, go with it and maximize it. The best way, again, is to pair people up, those who already know what to do and those who don't yet know what to do, so that they can learn from one another. We have to be committed to helping people grow, but we also have to be sure that resources are maximized. So the two situations are important, and as a leader, you must know when to do what. But it's also important that you let people grow by giving them opportunity, but not the one that through their mess up, they will mess the team up. I hope you understand what I've said.
All right, let's go ahead with Port Harcourt and then Adedeji.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. My name is Barnabas. Please, I want to know what is the differences between when you are leading children and when you are leading adults? Thank you.
Well, when you're leading children are still very much in their formative years. Children, you can't just be, I mean, the extent to which they will contribute to decision-making may not be as much, because again, their values are still being formed, their beliefs are still being formed, their personalities are still being formed. So the kind of, the style you bring, you can't really express laissez-faire with children. Otherwise, they probably just want to play all day and you allow them play all day, right? So at the end of the day, it's their people, but their needs are different. So the kind of leadership style you bring must respond to that reality. Unlike when you're leading adults who already know what they want, they know their style, they know their beliefs, then it's, it's a bit different. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, right? So as a children leader, for example, you want to already have an idea of what you want done, because you cannot just, if you ask children what do they want to do, they probably want to play all day. But then you also want to give them situations to contribute or participate. So maybe participatory method is important. Sometimes authoritative, where you have to be a disciplinarian because they are children. The same principles really, situational, understanding the job to be done. And don't forget, we mentioned that in previous time, what is the job to be done and what is the best approach to get that job done? In most cases, it will be switching between these roles from authoritative to, but you probably need less of laissez-faire with children, because if you allow them, all of you will play all day. And if that is what is necessary, why not? Because children still have to play, right? But what is important is to be situational. Find what is necessary per time and give them all the room to grow.
Thank you very much. Adedeji.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, good. So, thank you very much, Mr. Onkoko, for this very wonderful lecture. So my question is, you mentioned the importance of, first of all, knowing someone's self, like knowing yourself. I mean, Socrates says it, like, man, know thyself. Yes, it is a very fundamental feature, in any, in trying to, discover ourselves as human beings and trying to lead. So now, let's say, for example, I know that my strength is, I'm an introvert and I'm a thinker. And I know that normally I'm supposed to be situational. I have to be flexible with different situations when I find myself in any leadership role, right? But the fact that I want to be situational means that there are some, it might seem sometimes that I'm trying to pretend or blending into some certain situations. Let's say being an extrovert or being what's it called, somebody that relies on facts more, trying to like blend in into those situations. And sometimes you seem to like not be able to match up because you are really trying to be somebody that seems that you are not. You are trying to force it, you know. And sometimes it might show in your attribute, in the way you manifest things, and that might seem like
the question now is.
So how can we manage?
Now,
how can we manage those when it seems like our strengths, when you're trying to like be something else, be situational, and it's making it seem like our weakness? How can we manage it properly in such a way that it won't really show our weakness out there? Basically, that's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay, so I'm going to ask that when you have time, read. So there's another module on what you're saying that I can facilitate, and it's called the stages of competence. And I get what you're trying to say. When you're in that transformative period, it appears to be pretense, and pretense really is not a goal. But there is something called the 4 stages of competence, which you should go and read about. And the 4 stages of competence is called unconscious incompetence. This is the point where you do not have the capacity to switch, and you do not know. You are not conscious about your weakness, that you do not have adaptive leadership style. That is where a lot of people are, because they don't know. So they are telling you, oh, that guy is pretending. I don't want to pretend. But the next stage is conscious incompetence. And this is the point I think you are right now, where you know that you do not have certain competencies, right? But you are conscious about it. The next stage is conscious competencies. And that is where what you are talking about. And that's the point where you are developing certain level of competencies, but you are conscious about it. So it's as though you're pretending, right? So you're an introvert, but you are trying to also develop an extroverted part of you. But because you're in that process and you have not mastered it, it's as though you are pretending, and that's because you are conscious about it and you know you are doing it. So it's almost like you are pretending, right? But the last stage of mastery is unconscious competence, which is when you unconsciously switch in and out of being an extrovert or extrovert without you knowing. It has come natural to you. And at that point, you are an expert, which means you are truly situational at that point, and you can react to situations as is necessary. I would ask you to go find more content on that and read, so that you can understand how to deal with the various challenges that come with each stage. I understand what you are saying. It is a reality, but it's part of the process that you have to go through, because the point is you must get to a point where you are unconscious. You are consciously switching between different styles, and you are able to meet the demand. And that is the point where people see you as an excellent leader. I get what you're saying. It is part of the process where you feel conscious about the fact that you are deliberately trying to switch, but it will not last. You have to be able to deal with that self-awareness or self-consciousness that come with that point, until you get to a point where you have mastery. So in order to help you understand that better, go and read about what is called the 4 stages of competence. Is one of the theories, but it's a very important one. It's also very useful in public speaking and other things you're trying to change. I think that answers your question. But at the end of the day, don't forget, to be effective, you have to be what you were originally not. It doesn't mean you would change totally from what you were, but you must develop the capacity to, at least temporarily, or when the needs demand, be what you have to be for different situations. Otherwise, people will keep saying that you are not competent. Some people will think you are competent, some people will think you are not competent. You will not be able to leverage on everybody's strengths to achieve your results.
That's interesting. Thank you very much. Oshogbo, it's your turn now. Oshogbo window on America. Please unmute yourself.
Chief Obafemi Awolowo once said that when it comes to method, you should be flexible. But when it comes to goal, you must be immutable. How do you reconcile this with the leadership situational, the situational leadership style? Secondly, literally, we say that the man is the style is the man. And ethics, of course, governs or tempers the monster in professionalism. Now, I want to ask, do the two go together? Situational leadership style and situational leadership ethics, do they go together?
All right, thank you. When I heard Chief Obafemi Awolowo, I just knew that person has to be Holder. Anyways, thank you for the question. And I think what you have said is very, very in agreement with what we have been discussing. Be flexible with the style, not the goal. The moment as a team, we come together and say, this is our shared goal, this is what we want to achieve, and we agree. I also don't think that should change, except we all come back together and agree that it should change. And that would need a lot of explanation. But the way through which we get to that goal, then we must be flexible. Because if we are not flexible, we will not achieve that goal, which is basically what you said. You quoted Chief Obafemi Awolowo of saying, who many people recognize as, an icon of leadership. So it's very important that we are flexible with the method. Part of delegation strategy, and if I were to be training on delegation today, one of the things that I would have told you, and one of the things I would have told you is to say that when you give people tasks, the tasks should remain, but give them the flexibility of method so that people can find the best method that works for them to achieve the goal. And that is part of the way of maximizing team's dynamics, the team's diversity. Because you realize that the best method you think can be used is there are better methods, and somebody is a custodian of that. And if we don't give them the opportunity to bring in their method, we will not achieve the result, right? And that is where individual creativity comes in. So that is very important. But there are some things you can't be flexible on, like the vision of a company. It's not something that should change every year. It's fixed, except, and I've seen companies who change their vision, but it usually requires a lot of work. And once they arrive at a new shared vision, it's remained for years. Because that is the anchor, right? That is the most important drive there. Ethics also, values should not be flexible. If values are flexible, then we'll bring in whatever situational value we need to achieve whatever we want to do. And that will be chaotic because people usually would bring the values that suit them, good or bad, that suits the situation, that suits them, especially selfish values to get things done. And that becomes a problem, right? If I would do that, people will fail or will achieve results at the wrong costs, or will achieve competence without building character, and which means whatever we're achieving will not be sustainable. So answering both of your questions together, vision, the common goal should not change. Those are somewhat permanent. Those are somewhat what we should. Imagine if you're playing football and the goalpost is changing every time. The goalpost is changing. No, in every game of soccer, the goalpost will never change. The rules of the game will not change. But what will change is the tactics, the strategy that the team within the goalposts, within the soccer, the pitch, and within the rules of the game, the strategy will change. Some people will use 4-4-2, some people will use 4-3-5. For those who love football, they will understand what I'm saying. Some people would use different styles as the occasion demands. Some people will start with a particular style and end with another, as long as they stay within the rules of the game, which is likened to the ethics of the game. Those ethics will not change. The goalposts also never change. it would be where it has always been, which means the vision and the goal would never change. However, the strategy, the style of the defender, of the striker can change. As a coach, I can decide to bring 2 left leg strikers to strike, or 2 right leg strikers to strike, or use no midfielder. Whatever it is, the style can remain, but the rules never change. And I hope you understand that. Thank you so much for that wonderful question.
All right, thank you very much. We still have more time. Anybody, I can see few people still in Oshogo. Yes, any other person? Okay. This is coming from Abiodun Aderibigbe. By the way, Aderibigbe, I saw your request. Aderibigbe said we should use the situational leadership to waive the issue of certificates. Once you attend online, we should then give you the, we'll think about that. That's why I say, All right, and it's asking, how do you handle a case where one tends to be easily demotivated when leadership situations seem to be uncooperative?
So you are probably looking at leadership situation also wrongly, because if you understand the concept of situational leadership, then you understand that you have options. So there's not such thing as leadership situation that has failed. The question is, what are you bringing to address that situation? And if one method has failed, then can you try another method? See, at the end of the day, leadership is about people. And there's been situations where, even as a leader, forget the fact that you're a leader and come to the level that people are and have heart-to-heart conversations. Or sometimes what is also lacking in leadership is empathy. And once empathy is missing and everybody knows, or some people knows, nothing will work. Even when you seem to be doing the right thing, they would not cooperate, because people might appear not to care about feeling, but at the end of the day, people just want to be valued. People just want their voice heard and visible. And that is what empathy is, our capacity to be able to connect with people and understand what their real needs and issue is. You see, at that point, it's almost impossible to fail. And I can tell you that from my own different experiences. The moment you're still wearing the leadership cap and trying to be the one finding the solution, driving this, things will fail. Things may fail. But the point where you give up the leadership cap and come to a point where it is about, let's even understand ourselves. What is the problem? What is the job to be done? And the moment we get to that point where we understand it and engage people, what will usually happen is the process of trying to understand people, the solution people want will also come out. And while it might be difficult to find a perfect one, you would have solved half of the problem by at least getting the people interested in the conversation. And sometimes people have been previously, especially when you get into a new leadership position where things have failed previously and people are not cooperating, sometimes it's just patience that is required, and you demonstrating that the fact that you're a different leader and the fact that you have the competence and experience, and things will gradually come back to points. Of course, it depends on the different situations or reality, but generally empathy is what leadership should be about. Helping to understand what people want, what they need, what is their reality, and how do we create solutions that work. Not coming with our own vision or method. I would even say worry less about style of leadership and worry more about understanding and knowing people. When you do that successfully, you would have done half of the job, and then the rest will come easier. Empathy is, I think, the answer in most of these cases. And of course, the reason for demotivation is because you already have a set goals that you are failing at and you're feeling demotivated. But sometimes eradicate the goal and work with people to set what the goal is within the scope of the overall vision that is there. And that is, I think that's is important. When you do that, you would have used different different leadership styles without you even realizing it. I think that's important. Please feel free to add more to that, Mr. Itayo.
Most times when you are dealing with certain leadership situations, I get to that point on daily basis, and I'm not exaggerating. It's either they are not getting what you are saying, or they got it and they want to go their own way. So most times, one could, if there's a decision to be taken, one could just move ahead based on the information you have, and you just go ahead and do it. But if you still have time, you can begin to see how you can get them on the table, particularly if their input is very, very, very critical to the decision, particularly if they are the ones that will run the show. The US consulate has quite a number of partners. And when you are dealing with partners, partners come in different shades. Some, they do very well with you, while some, they will not. And you have to get things done. So in some cases, you have to be authoritative. In some cases, you have to be, cooperative. You just have different kinds. But just like the resource person said, you have to be able to have mastered all this, even though they might not be your domiciled or your strength. You just have to learn over time to be able to work towards getting the result. I hope I've been able to add something to that. Let's quickly go to the next one. And this one, I don't know how, there are people who are very, I don't know how to describe this one, but let's go ahead with it. Uyo, Window on America said, "Good afternoon, sir. Please, what kind of leadership style will be suitable in a situation where your subjects are always acting like Absalom of the Bible, always looking for opportunity to overtake the leader? Every opportunity they want to upstage you." So, how do you undo that?
Wow, that's an interesting question, because the truth is you would find people like that. And I've been in that case before. And I will just share that story. And what I did was to call the gentleman in that situation and have, invite him for an informal conversation, because I wanted to know what his priorities are, what exactly is his interest. And like I said, everyone has an interest. And it's easier when you have somebody who is visibly trying to overthrow you. But there are some people that are working, but they will come and pretend and everything is fine, but they are doing a lot of work behind it. Those ones are even more dangerous, because then you don't know, right? But what I've realized, what I did then was to have informal conversation and ask him that what exactly is your agenda, what's your interest, and all. And if it's a situation where leadership is termed, then such a person, you can let them know that, hey, my tenure will soon be over. Why not let's work together to position you as the best leader, right? That way, because again, sometimes what you just want to do is to minimize problem during your time in that leadership position, such that you can focus. But if it's a situation where you are the founder, you are going to be there for a long time, the best thing for such persons to just let them go. Advise them to go start their thing. If you have anything to support them, then let them go. Because some people you just, it's either first and they'll be strategy. So you advise them to go. My own personality type is such a way that even if I have money to support you, just so I can support you settle down, that's even difficult to do. But the point is, there are some people that you have to push out. There will not be too many people like this, because there are some people that are unrepentant. And that's because somebody like this is most likely going to be choleric. They also want leadership. They are strong leaders. They want to make decisions. And no matter what you do, they would always feel they have more capacity or competence than you. Even if you make them vice or co-chair or something, they want to overthrow. So it is either you are negotiating with them to say that my tenure will soon be over, we can position you for leadership. And then let's see how we do that. That way they will support you to be successful so that you can support them. One way. The other way is to say it's time for you to move on, to create your own thing. And the moment, and even some of us here will feel that way sometimes. And I've been in a situation where I also feel like, oh, I can do better than this. At that point is the time to go. It's a time for you to leave also. Otherwise, you create unnecessary problems for yourself. You sow seeds that would not work for you in the future. So it might just be best for you to go at that point and go do your thing, or go find, create your own team and opportunity. Or if you are in the leader, support them to go. If you can talk them into being a good team member, fine. But if you can't, it's time for people like that to go. There's really nothing to say other than to say that part ways and let them go and support them where you can. You have peace of mind, or you negotiate something. But when you meet people like this, even more dangerous are those who are trying to do this, but not saying it out, but strategizing. And that is why you need to be connected with your people at the grassroots at every level, so that when things are happening, people can give you feedback also as a leader, and you can know what to do. I'm sure, again, Mr. Itayo will be able to add more to this, given his own experience too, in matters.
Thank you very much. Since he referred to the Bible, I will just also mention, the biblical story of Satan. Satan actually wanted to overthrow God, and God had to, get rid of him. And unfortunately, many people, many angels followed him. And that happens regularly in organizations, particularly non-profit, when somebody thinks, after all, whatever you are doing, I can do. I can do better. So they want to, within that same organization, assert themselves and take over your whole organization. You don't want that to happen, because, you had a vision before you started. You just invited this guy to be part of the vision, and now he's seen another vision within your own vision. And so one major way is to get rid of such people so that they don't contaminate the rest of the staff. But also, when you have people, particularly in places where you are not the owner, but you are employed in a non-profit, and you happen to be the head of a unit, and someone is trying to upstage you, we also would like to, I've had these experiences also, where you'll be struggling with somebody who is your subordinate. They will ask a question, you expected your subordinates to wait for you to answer the question, and your subordinate will be answering the question. And at the end of the day, it's not giving the correct answer. So in such cases, what I've done is to invite the person and say, look, there can't be two heads in the ship. So you just have to be able to know when to talk and know when not to talk. But if the person refuses to change, of course, one will have to take it to the higher level. We like Mr. Onikoko to rest a while, so that we can just take a feedback very quickly. Please, everybody take your phone. If you have a phone and you have data, go to this particular link very quickly. And let's see, just pam. I want us to just get this feedback very quickly. And just for him to relax as well. Let me see whether we can get this. Okay. Can you all see my screen? All right. So very, very quickly, just 1 minute. I need to get this up. All right, can you see my screen? Okay, so I can see people joining right now. We'll just give you like 1 minute to join. All right, 3 people have joined, 4. One minute more. 1 American minute left. So we have 19 right now. We have 34 people in. So we're countdown now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we now start very quickly. Please just let us have your feedback. So tell us your location where you are right now, just the name of the place. If you're in Lagos, you're in Ibadan, you're in Calabar, just one word, just one word, just one word. Yes, Port Harcourt is 2 words so that we can get it very well. Great, you can see majority of people are from Lagos and Port Harcourt. Great. Yes, very good. Right. Okay. We have just 3 seconds left. Next. In terms of your state, in terms of the state, which of the states are you? Lagos State, Anambra State, Enugu State? Wonderful. Is Benin a state? Edo State. I can also see Uyo State. Thank you very much. Uyo State, Osun State, Victoria Island State. All right, then this is very important. The next, and I think the final slide. How did you feel today after this presentation? Just one word to tell us your feeling today. Happy, inspired, wonderful, awesome. You don't need to look at what people say. Just type what's the way you feel. Wonderful, wonderful. I can see a lot of people motivated, enlightened, great, inspired, refreshed, enthusiastic, motivated. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, then finally, what did you learn today? That's the final thing. I can see here, somebody said, I learned leadership styles and types. I learned as a leader, you need to learn something of everything and everything of something in order to manage any team effectively. I learned about leadership styles, learn to be a situational leader, learn your team, I learned different leadership styles and how team members can be managed. What was a very successful, insightful session. I learned that a leader should display dexterity in understanding his followers. I learned to be flexible, leadership styles, effectiveness, know yourself, flexibility, okay, leadership styles, team management, flexibility. Okay, keep typing. And all right, so I will just ask Mr. Wonikoko to please wrap up the session. We will not have time to take questions again. Please reserve your question for next, the last session, which is on Thursday. Mr. Alushola Wonikoko.
All right, thank you so much for all the things you noted that you learned, and I hope you're able to put all these things to practice. At the end of the day, I think what summarizes all of this is everything leadership especially is about people, and you are part of those people. So personal leadership is important because you cannot deliver what you don't have. And foundational to that is knowing yourself and always investing in human relationship, emotional intelligence. That is how to best maximize your skills. And lastly, I would say that there is no one who cannot change, but the only person who can change you is you. I cannot change you. So if you decide to improve yourself, to improve your skills, you just have to go for it. And you will see that you are able to influence people beyond what you could do before. So keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing all of what you have learned and bring feedback for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for this great session that we've had today. And I must thank everybody for coming today. All American Spaces, we appreciate all your commitment. I kept saying that because I believe it. If not for you, this would not have been possible. And for those of us who have joined us from American Spaces, it's a lot of sacrifice. And people have asked us, why must we come to the American space? Why can't we just do this from home? Yes, you can. Please do it from home. The only difference is that if you stay at home, you will not be able to have the certificates. And we have a reason for doing that. That one is not situational leadership. That's a decision, authoritative decision that we had to take, and we have taken already. So I want to thank you. Please remember, if an organization succeeds, it's about leadership. And if the other ones also happen, there's a failure, the same thing rests on the leadership. So what type of leader are you? So see you on Thursday. Please, let's log in about 30 minutes before the event so that we can make sure we correct all this technical stuff. I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.